One approach is to, as we did the last thing, create in Azure a virtual machine and choose SQL Server installed on it. Now you can create a virtual machine that's completely empty and then install Windows and then install SQL Server if you want to. Or you can just choose, they have all of these things pre-built, and so you can just say, give me a virtual machine that has Windows whatever version and SQL whatever version, and they will very likely have that pre-built for you. And so you just start it up. It takes a while to deploy, like we saw, probably usually about 10-15 minutes, but it just deploys and then everything's installed, and you've got, now all you need to do is go in and do the configurations that you want. As I mentioned earlier, if you've already got an existing license, you can use that, and it costs you less per hour, per DTU. We'll explain DTUs in a little bit. But if you don't, it is cheaper to buy. It is cheaper to buy the license through Azure than it is to go buy your license from someone else and then apply it. You can also, since SQL 2017 runs on Linux, you can get a virtual machine running SQL 2017 on Linux. And then you can choose which distribution you want. So it's a matter of what operating system you want and what distribution and what version of SQL Server. Azure has a guaranteed availability of 99.95%, which sounds like it's not that much. But really, because we're so used to having like 99.999%, we talk about that, but realistically that is so ridiculously expensive that that very few places can sustain that. I worked for Intel, and they were doing 2.8 billion with a B dollars per month through these particular set of applications. So they hired me to make sure that it was running at 5 nines, 99.999%. And when I looked at the cost, I went to them and I said, this is going to cost you about $5 million one time and increase your annual budget by about $2 million. Are you sure you want to do this? And they just stared at me and said, did you hear us? 2.8 billion per month? Yeah, that's chump change. Spend it. It's like, ooh, I get to go spend $5 million. That's kind of exciting. So yeah, it was a fun time, but a lot of pressure, because when they weren't kidding when they demanded 99.9. That's about 6 minutes per year downtime. So it was expensive, but boy, what a lot of fun that was. So most people, when they talk about high percentage availability time, they're not really serious. They hear that at a conference somewhere, and they think that's a great idea. Let's go for it. And when you tell them the cost, they're like, oh no. I had a guy one time tell me, I can do that for a few $100. I said, no, you can't. You really can't. So he insisted he could. And, about 3 months later, he was fired because he obviously couldn't. So 99.95%, I think, is a couple of hours per year downtime. That's a pretty huge standard. Now, I think, was it yesterday or the day before, they messed up and they were down for quite a while. So they're going to be having to pay back some money to a lot of people. But that's their SLA.